Now, hearing from families we know helps to ground us in why we're here and to remain focused on what matters. Learning from family experience is key to ensuring that together we make tangible improvements to services for children and families. Today, we are so privileged to have Judie Daphne with us. She's the mom of a child with a pediatric feeding difficulty. Judie, we just met before the session today, but I understand that your story is nothing short of heroic. So I'm really anxious to learn from you. We're grateful for your willingness to share a glimpse of the stresses and anxieties that may keep you up at night. We certainly appreciate your commitment to reminding us of the important role that we play in collaborating with families to set and reach goals. Infants and children with feeding and swallowing difficulties need the strength that you bring, that their families bring. And I understand from my colleagues that your story is going to just really demonstrate for us that love has no limits and that you're going to do what it takes for your little one. So thank you, Judie, for being here, and I'll pass it now to you.
Thank you, Julie. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, for sure. You sound great.
Thank you for inviting me for sharing the stories. And I just wanted to say before I share our stories that the purpose of sharing our story is not to blame anybody or like point fingers, but it's really for improvement for the future families who will experience the similar thing that we experience. And I am truly grateful for all the healthcare professionals in our journeys. So I just want to put it out there before we share our journey. So my name is Judie, and we live in Calgary. I have a 2.5-year-old daughter now named Jubilee. And Jubilee was born in 25 weeks and 5 days. So when she was born 2 weeks after her bowel perforated, and we were rushed from the foothills to the children's hospital. And so that bowel perforation on top of all the prematurity issues kind of caused us to stay in the NICU for 5 to 6 months. And during this 5 to 6 months, she experienced life and death. She had several surgeries, major surgery to her heart, to her bowels, and to her eyes. And then finally, we got discharged from the NICU onto the normal regular ward. And our journey wasn't ended because that's our feeding difficulty starts. So after the NICU, after the TPN was taken out, Jubilee stopped growing. So she was on tube feed. And at the same time, I was trying to breastfeed her as well. But because she continued to fail to grow after the TPN stopped, eventually I was asked to stop the breastfeeding completely and replace all her intake with tube feed. And I have to be honest that was very difficult for me. And now when I look back, I think it was a mistake. And you know, I don't know, but you might agree with me, you know, after finish hearing our stories. But so Jubilee was on complete tube feed, and she started very bad vomiting. Every day she will vomit at least 4 to 5 times or even more, maybe 10 times a day. Sometimes she vomit out her tube. And so after we got discharged from the ward, we were discharged home. I was the one who managed her NG tube feed, and it was so bad that she wasn't really growing, despite the fact that the neonatal follow-up dietitian and PT were working with us, and we changed every week. We changed something, changed the concentration of her formula, change the volume, and we did everything, but she just had the tube feed intolerance. She just failed to grow, and she continued to vomit. So we were readmitted twice, once in September, once in November, for failure to thrive because she continued to be small. And eventually on our last admission, they decided that NG wasn't working, so we got switched to NJ. And NJ, as you know, NJ, that I have no control over it. If it comes out, we have to go back to the DI, and she has to have the tube inserted by a physician under the furrow. So we went home with NJ with continuous feeds. And unfortunately, Jubilee continued to vomit and vomit. So towards the end, I had to call DI almost every day to have the tube reinserted. And I don't know if you have seen a little baby being tied down on a table and with 4 adults holding her while she was crying and screaming, and had the doctor go in and out trying to put the NJ in. But we had to go through this every single day, and till this one doctor told me that I need to keep a better job of looking at the NJ so it doesn't come up. And I just lost my emotion on him because, I don't think I have ever slept since Jubilee was born. And watching that NJ or NG was the only thing that was in my mind 24/7. And I don't feel like I, have control over it if she managed out to vomit out the NJ every single day. But it was very difficult for us. So after I lost my emotion on him, we reinserted the NJ, and we extended 10 centimeters even lower down to her bowel. And we went home, and 1 hour after, she vomited out the NJ. And I decided that was it. I am not taking her back to the hospital anymore. In the meantime, I didn't know where to go to. Nobody seemed to be able to help us besides, giving us the order for how much volume and NG and NJ that we need to pump into her. Nobody seemed to have any solutions for her vomiting. Nobody. We were seen by the GI clinic. We were followed by the pediatrician. We were followed by the neonatal follow-up. Nobody had solution for us. And I was crying and desperate for solution for Jubilee. Jubilee didn't have any medical issues at the time. The only issue that she had was being small and oral aversion. And because all the vomiting, she developed very severe oral aversion. She would not have anything close to her mouth. So nobody had any solution. I just feel like I'm in this deep black hole and I couldn't get out of it. And so I put the NG back into her, and then I just Google online to see if there is anybody out there in the world able to help us to wean the tube feed off and then get her start eating by mouth. So I came across with this eating school from Austria, And then the funny thing is, I actually watched a documentary about them many years ago before I had surgery. That was an old documentary from like 20 years plus years ago, that they were helping a girl who doesn't eat and she was 7 years old, and they helped her to wean off her tube, and she was able to sustain herself by mouth. So I just made the decision that I will go into, I went on to GoFundMe.com and I raised the money and I booked the ticket. I registered for the school, and I was ready to go to Austria to get her wean off her 2 feet in 2 weeks. And then COVID hit, of course. So then we stuck at home. But then we used the money we raised to join the net coaching program from this eating school. And we were successful in weaning her off from 2 feet successfully in a month. And let me tell you, it was life-changing for us. For those of you who are parents who have kids, you know, eating is everything and how stressful it is. And I would never dreamed of that I can actually watch her putting food in her mouth and enjoying the feed. And of course, the journey didn't end because, you know, she remained to be small, and we transitioned from neonatal follow-up to the early childhood rehab, ECR in Calgary. And then so the transition was slow because of the COVID, and then we continue to work with the dietitian and the OT. And then my PTSD did come back a little bit because we were talking about a lot of numbers like Z-score, her growth chart and things like that. First, she's remained 3 percentile, and then her weight hasn't grown, she hasn't gained any weight for probably 11 months after the 2 feet is completely stopped. So that put a lot of pressure on me and doubt. But then at the same time, I need professional help to help me to get her be interested in food. So I took in my own hands. So even though COVID hit, she had a couple of NECU friends, and then I know all the preemie moms are very, very keen, like very careful with the kids, and then like hand hygiene and all that. So I set up play date, eating play date, picnic play date, so that I invite them over. I lay a big blanket, and then I have all sorts of food for them to eat and play, and there's no pressure. And I just want her to grow out loving food. And you know, it's not really the number like on the scale that matters. It's that after the 2 feet is gone, she can turn, she started to sit up nicely, she can walk, she can talk, she can touch all the food and just play with them. And so it's more than just feeding and swallowing. It's a child's long-term development that I think this is so important. So that's like our story in a very nutshell. And I just wanted to say that I'm very excited about the PEACE program, and we did participate the response feeding workshop, and it was very helpful. Something I feel like I wish we had was a team of experts, and this is maybe just for our specific situations about tube weaning on the kids that are stable. I just wish that when the kids were discharged with a tube feed into the community, I wish there were a plan how to, and then the duration and the plan to how to wean them off. Yes, we have to, you know, like listen to the kids' clue, but we have to provide that opportunity for them. to feel hungry, to give them the motivation and the environment to enjoy food. And we can't just go to this, now will be the Zoom meeting once every couple months, and then just, maybe just see them in a few minutes and then just say, okay, we can try this and this. No, I just wish there were a team, a group of people who is knowledgeable, maybe a doctors, OT, PT, even a children behaviors psychologist. I wish there was such a team that, okay, these kids have been transitioned from home, from tube feeding. And if there is no medical intervention, how do we wean her off from tube feed and get her developed, with other, areas? And that's what I would like to see from this group. And connecting with other parents, because we feel so alone. And I actually, besides hanging out with our NICU friends, at that time, I refused to hang out with anybody who has no more full-term babies, because it was really draining. And then the tube feed weaning process was very, very emotional and stressful. So I wish there was some emotional support. Somebody had done this, that who can share their experience with us. So this is something just from our experience that I wish I can see this in the PIDS program in the future, that, maybe there's such a service and team available in each big cities, that we are able to help the transitions a lot better, and the parents who has feeding difficulties, babies won't experience what we experience. So, but I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak up, and I just want to thank you for the people who really wanted to support us, but I think it was just a lot of lack knowledge and lack of systemic coordination to support us at the time. So yeah, that's our story.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your story, Mark. And I just, on behalf of all of us, I think we all want to thank you for your courage and your strength, obviously going through this journey, but for coming here today and spending the time to prepare and certainly put together those beautiful pictures of your daughter. I know there were many comments in the chat box. And I think, for me, I think parts of your story really stood out in terms of obviously the strength and that, commitment and perseverance that you've had throughout this journey. And when I look at the, I think 100+ participants that we have on here today, I can be assured that, in Alberta, I think we have this commitment, and this is, we're here for this learning collaborative so that we can learn from families like you and from the expertise that we have across the province to really understand the journey and what's important to families. And I was really struck, so I co-chair our evaluation work group, and earlier Julie showed kind of the dashboard, the picture of the graphs going up and down. And for me, as we look at that information, part of that data that comes into that is a survey that we send to parents to get their input and information. And your story really struck me that, every individual kind of experience that we get in to that survey and all the experience of the clinicians really helps to guide us. And so it'll help tell us the things that we are doing well, the things that are improving, and those areas that we're still struggling with. So thank you very much for sharing your story today. I believe we had in our agenda a couple of minutes for questions, and I have seen just in the chat box, we've had, I think, many thanks and acknowledgements. But if there was kind of any kind of last word you wanted to share with us, Judie, maybe we'll give you the last word here, and then we'll transition into the next part of our day today.
Oh, I just wanted to encourage all the clinicians that, when you help a family, the main thing is develop a relationship with them. Look at the child, spend some time with the child, not just the numbers. Put the numbers behind. And when you develop that trust relationship with the parents, I think all your suggestions will come across. But if you focus too much on the numbers or charting, spend so much time charting instead of looking at the child or generating care about the child and showing interest on the child, then you can suggest all you want, but they will not take your suggestions. That's from our experience. But we met many great clinicians around the world, and then we just hope that this group will continue to improve and then provide the. I know you guys all care about the kids and the parents, and I just wanted to thank you for all your great work. And then, I also signed up for the mentor parent program as a volunteer, so I might come across path with you again. But I just want to wish everybody the best in this COVID world, and then enjoying food and enjoying your work. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much.